Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Techgig webinar, our endeavor to empower techies. We believe that sharing of knowledge is the key of enhancing our performances and for our growth as professionals. With this principle in mind, Techgig has initiated a series of webinars conducted by industry experts to give a crisp insight of various domains. Topic for today's webinar session is how does business analysis optimize technology innovation? We are delighted to have Mr. G. Ramasubramanian, Head Business Analysis COE at Fiserv India as a guest speaker. Mr. Ramasubramanian is a veteran in the financial services and IT industry. He has over 3 decades of experience in banking and IT and functional expertise spanning across multiple geographical areas. Currently, VP Compliance at the International Institute of Business Analysis, Delhi chapter. His core competency has been utilized in the areas of design and implementation of products for banks across geographies. His ideology is to reflect technological advancement in the solutions provided by the financial institutions for the benefit of end users. Gentlemen, this presentation will continue for next 45 minutes and we will take your questions after the presentation. In the meanwhile, you can post your queries through the chat pane available in the webinar software. Without further ado, I introduce you to our guest speaker, Mr. Ramasubramanian.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible to all the participants, please? Somebody can confirm from the Techgig team, please.
Yeah, Mr. Subramaniam, we can hear you and we can see your slides as well.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, audience, and thank you very much for joining us all today to listen to one of the hit ideas that we have, that we run with in our company, the Fiserv Global Services. And today, I'm joined with Anand, who is one of my colleagues, who has a fairly decent experience in this area. When we selected this topic, we do have multiple areas where business analysis is utilized. The business analysis per se is thought of as a discipline that works in the technology areas, more so in the areas of solution development and interacting with the customers or doing some validation exercises and so on. So when we talk about the technology and more so in the area of innovation, where does this business analysis fit in? And how do we say that business analysis optimize the innovations that are happening in the technology? Innovations that happen in technology, in the process, in wherever there are the innovations that are happening, how does the business analysis itself fit in? So that is the idea behind our the current webinar, and this is an idea that we thought we could put across to the entire audience, and then we'll take their views, and then we also would like to get some inputs from whoever is listening to this the webinar and fine-tune our thought process. And this is our view. There are several points that are our views, not necessarily that of our company or the companies that I representing now or in the past or the future. So it's purely our own ideas, Anand and Ram's personal ideas. So moving on, if you look at the caption that I have given here, you will see that the optimization of innovation demands creative business analysis. So it's a very heavy word, heavy sentence where the optimization of innovation is per se is a game changer for most of the industries, also in the technology and the IT industry. And optimization, does it demand creative business analysis? Yes, we believe that it does. So what do we mean by creative business analysis? By and by, we will come to learn about this when we cover the slides that we have following this particular discussion. We feel that the combination of the innovation, the optimization of innovation and the creative business analysis helps to define the complexity of customer needs and ensures the longevity of a business. When I say the complexity of customer needs, most of us that are there in the IT industry, or even so in the industries where they have customer-facing roles, we come across multiple needs or multiple requirements that are given by the customers, which become complex over a period of time. Could be starting as a simple expectation, but it becomes very complex over a period of time when we start discussing and understanding what exactly is the expectation from the customer. And then the combination, the innovation, or the particular area where we feel that the new ideas, new thought processes that arise out of the innovation will help us to simplify the customer expectations and help us to run the company longer. We know multiple companies that have been there as a cutting edge in the innovation side, but they failed over a period of time because the creative business analysis did not go hand in hand with the innovation or the edge that they had due to the innovation. We can quote many examples. So in our opinion, one of the examples that we would think of is Kodak, which recently had to file for bankruptcy. Though it had, if I remember the number correct, 200 and odd various IPRs that are registered with various agencies, still it was not in a position to sustain because, in our opinion, the innovation did not go hand in hand with the creative business analysis. So what do we mean by creative business analysis? So we will come to it in the subsequent slides. Okay. Yeah, I'll request Anand to speak a few words onto this slide.
Thanks, Ram. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to participate in this webinar. Now, having spoken about innovation, optimization, and business analysis, let's first walk through as to what these terms mean from the horse's mouth. So, if you see the definitions, what innovation is, optimization, and business analysis is, we already have these definitions from the Wikipedia and the International Institute of Business Analysis and the Agile worlds, which talk about innovation, which means the creation of better or more effective products, processes, services, technologies, or ideas that are accepted by markets. And optimization means to optimize or make it next to perfect or effective or functional as possible. So we are kind of marrying innovation and optimization, wherein business analysis plays a crucial role. And what does business analysis mean? Business analysis, according to the IIBA, it says that it is basically a set of tasks and techniques which is used to work as a liaison among stakeholders in order to understand the structure, policies, and operations. Whereas, we kind of differ to this opinion here, and we basically say, the business analysis is kind of taking the next level, and it does not, it does not only is liaising in between the business needs and business stakeholders to the technology, whereas it also forms as a part of your enterprise or organizational objective, wherein the business analysis draws the ideas from the innovative through the innovative ways to identify the business needs and cater to the market in an optimized manner. That is what we are talking about. So all these definitions are self-explanatory here, and the punchline what we are trying to cover out here at the bottom line is, under the current ever-changing business scenario, the business analysis will increasingly need to manage change and become a tool for creative destruction. We intentionally use this word, a tool for creative destruction, and I'll let Ram to explain why we did that.
See, when we talk of the innovation, innovation comes in with both positive and negative impact on the business, on the stakeholders, and generally on the economy. Certain innovations bring in more prosperity, certain innovations, because of the very nature, they bring prosperity to one side and they have certain negative impact onto the other side. Let us look at many of those that have been there in this industry would remember what we had those days about 15-20 years back, what we used to call as pager devices. These pager devices we used to carry, it was a small mobile phone like a contraption which we used to carry with us. And anybody that wants to pass on any message, there was a service provider, you would flash the message onto it, and with a beeping noise, we can look at the message, and then we would call back from the person from whom the message has actually originated. So this was the pager device that was, even today we can see this pager device being used in large hospitals where the doctors and some of those people that support critical support areas in the hospital carry it with them. So once when the mobile telephony came into the picture, the pager devices totally disappeared. And the SMS world that was there, it is slowly disappearing in the smartphone world. So giving this example, you will see that there are multiple innovations that come into the market, which create some kind of a destructive force. There is a destructive products that come into the market. So in the case of business analysis, what we feel is the analysis itself has to be a proactive tool for looking at the likely impacts of the innovations that are happening in the market and create a proactive destruction within the organization or outside of it. So this way, the longevity of the company is essentially established. If we look at it in the market, there are innovations that come into the market. So some of them will displace what we have been thinking so far as the product. Going by another very easy to remember example, the picture tubes of this world for the TV that are getting used are slowly getting replaced with the LCD, LED, high definition TV, and so on and so forth. So this is creative destruction. Somebody has to be there. The business analysis has to be done to understand the innovation that is happening in the market and the way that it is going to destroy or modify or change the way that we operate, we think, we process, and then we deliver. So this is what we call as a tool, the business analysis itself as a tool for creative destruction. I'm proceeding to the next slide. Okay, so this is just we are adding on to what we call as creative destruction, more so in the from the viewpoint of the general market that is obtaining currently. So this is a generic thing. Most of us, all of us would know that there are specific influences that happen over a period of time on organizations, technology, services, etc., etc. So the more prominent of them we have noted here. There are many, many more that we have not noted here. The prominent of them, in our opinion, are some of the economic influences, a few from the market influences, few from the cost or the return on investment or the investment side of it, and few from the end user expectations, the customer influences. So when I talk of the economic influences, the trade cycles, the shortening impact time for upheavals. So the trade cycles is nothing much that we did not have to explain it much, but a brief elaboration on the shortening of the impact time for upheavals. Gone are the days when there was an issue in one country and that took a long, long time to spread to the other countries. But today, if you look at it, in the contagion that happened in the Western nations sometime during 2008, was felt within a few months in all the countries all over the world in some way or the other, some at a high level, some at a low level. But the impact was felt very, very, very fast. And similarly, any innovation that happens, any destructive innovation that happens anywhere in any part of the world immediately has an influence on similar products and services anywhere else in the world. So that is the way that the world is flat now. So the shortening impact time for upheavals. And if you look at the cost influences, the innovation, the investment on research and development are becoming higher and higher as the day progresses. So we are spending more time trying to invent things. We are spending more time trying to innovate things that we have. The research and development itself is becoming highly critical and highly expensive. The operational cost, naturally, once we have a higher level of investment and higher level of expectations from the customers, naturally the operational cost also goes hand in hand with that. So there is always this, when you look at the profit and loss account of any IT or any industry, the cost is always increasing. The normal thing is based on inflation. The abnormal thing is on the investments that the companies make. And the market influences, look at the disruptive products, which I mentioned a few slides ago. I talked about the pager as one of the disruptive products that, the mobile phone that came on the market as one of the disruptive products. With competition and globalization, there is, once again, there is not much need to be said for this audience that are there that have logged in. Globalization naturally has its own impact, and competition also has its own impact. Competition within the country, outside of the country, across the borders, you name it, we have it now. So earlier there was a secluded or the protected environment that was available with most of the countries is slowly going away. Some countries still feel that we have to go back to the protected environment, but in our opinion, the protected environment is gone forever. We will have the easy accessibility to products, services, technology across markets, across any country in the world. So and the movement of such technology and the services and the knowledge moves faster than ever. So these factors, these four factors, the largely important factors, there may be many other as I mentioned, they drive the innovation that is there in the industry currently. Look at what's happening now. You have just to go by a couple of examples that immediately comes to my mind. The same type of a service or a product is given by multiple products. For example, let's look at banking. In banking, we have the customer-facing online banking that is done normally through the web or the internet, what we call the net banking. Similar services and similar types of expectations are provided through the mobile banking as well. So one innovation leads to the other. Through this innovation, particular innovation, the banks are in a position to, by and large, reduce the cost of operations on mundane banking. Banking is becoming more of a service. Unless otherwise somebody wants to get a loan or do something specific for himself, most people do not visit the bank. So this type of amount of savings that is happening permits the bank to engage in activities which are more market-oriented, customer-oriented, and ensure the longevity. So this is one example. We can think of multiple examples where the innovation is a driving force behind the longevity of any business. The technology innovation that is happening all over. Let's take the pharmaceutical industry. The innovative ideas that comes into force that make a business either run or lose. So the amount of investment that they make on the research and development, come out with the new drugs, new capabilities of the existing drug. That is what is driving. That is what is the driving force behind the longevity of such business. So I'm getting into the next slide. I would request Anand to talk on the slide, please.
Yeah, as Ram mentioned rightly, mentioned it correctly that everything revolves around innovation, and he gave a great example of the banking industry, which is now currently moving on to the digital world, and more people are becoming mobile savvy because of that. And the most appropriate example wherein business analysis has come into picture to create more innovative ideas using the existing technology or optimizing the existing technology. We can have this great example wherein the customers are now able to withdraw cash through the ATMs without the card, without even having their card, which is called as a cardless transaction. So you just have the one-time password beeped onto your mobile, and using that one-time password, you can withdraw cash from the ATM. So that is the greatest example which I can quote with the latest in technology, wherein banking is used and the business analysis marries innovation. So we talked about enterprise, we talked about strategy, we talked about business analysis, we talked about innovation, and we talked about business analysis as a tool for destruction and destroying the existing new ideas, and also business longevity. So how do we do all that? We basically talked about it at enterprise level and a strategic level. So we have to now come down from a 5,000 feet to 1,000 feet level and see how do we do that. So to do that, we basically need two things. One, we need a technical expertise and we need a business analysis expertise. So when both of these marry together, we basically get an innovative outcome and innovative solution. So in the technical expertise, we basically need strong technology concept, architecture and design. We need excellent methodologies and systems and standards set in place, which basically drives the technical concepts and then explosive growth in the path-breaking technologies. We should have updated technologies in place and the knowledge and the skill level in the organization to basically work hand in hand. Not only that, we basically should also have the business analysis expertise, adding that and gelling well with the technical expertise, which would be the business analysis having in-depth knowledge about the industry-specific trends, wherein he knows what is the latest things which are happening in the industry. He should have an overall competitive landscape so that he basically understands, what is the landscape he is drawing and what is the growth path for the existing product and what would be the growth path for the product 10 years down the line, so that he can create new ideas and get new innovative things in place and on which the technical expertise would work and get things and get better outcomes and solutions. And last but not the least, we basically have the informal lines of communication with the end user interaction and taking the functional architecture, design and solution. So over here I would say end user interaction and perspective would be the most important part from a business analysis expertise, because he would understand as to what the end user would require and then have that documented in a way which the technology can understand, and then the technology can come out with new innovative ideas how to solve the business or business needs or the end user needs. So this is again a great example how the technical expertise would marry with the business analysis expertise to come out with innovative business outcomes and solutions.
Any questions that you have, I think the audience that they can type it onto the system, and I will be in a position to answer those questions, please. Before we move further, I have a question for the audience. We would like you to respond to this question. Is business analysis dependent on domain or vice versa? The first question to you is, what do you think? Do you think that the business analysis itself requires specific knowledge of domain, or the domain without the business knowledge is not going to be successful? So which is more critical, or both of them critical? Could you elaborate on that and respond? Okay, so this is the first question. Would like to hear from you guys and ladies that are there. We are moving on to the next slide. This is what do we call the innovation efficiency. We are using many new words and jargons here, but we have a reason to use them. What is innovation efficiency? Innovation efficiency is the one that comes out of the inputs that come both from the technical and the business side of any development. It could be in the technology industry, it could be an IT industry, it can be anything. It can be even let's say a tractor manufacturing industry, a manufacturing industry that is making tractors for the usage of multiple different types of terrains, maybe a terrain that has lots of hard soil, maybe terrain that is clay, and so on and so forth. So which one would be suited? So the innovation of the technology comes from both the business side and the technology side. So what do we mean by productivity? The business analysis productivity depends upon the ratio between the input that we receive from both the areas, the business side of it and the technology side of it. The better the ratio, higher the productivity from the business analysis. So this essentially means that the analysis is being done with people or experts that have excellent knowledge in their respective areas. Only when you have expert level knowledge in these two areas, in that particular area, we could call that there is a productivity gain. So the basic thing is that people that are there involved in this activity will reach to the level of experts and will bring in their experience and expertise in coming out with the specific areas where the innovation can be implemented. Now, once that is done, looking at the technology side of it, it is the efficiency of the innovation that will be increased once the business analysis and the technology analysis is married together. So how do we say that the innovation itself is efficient? Is it going to meet up any customer need? Is it going to improve any change in the process or whatever that is currently being done? Is it going to be a paradigm? Is it going to give a paradigm shift in the way the processes are handled and the thought processes that are currently being managed by the people that are there in the system? So this is innovation efficiency. How is it going to improve the lives of the end users that are going to be there? So, and if you look at on the top side, on the business domain side of it, it has to bring in its own efficiencies in the business objectives and processes. So far, we might have been doing, a particular industry might have been carrying on an activity in a particular way. They may be doing the movement of, let us say, in the shop floor, one of the raw material or one of the ingredients for the manufacturing side could be moving from point A to point B and then to point C. So the business domain might say, innovatively, why do we have to move to point B? There is no need. We can move directly to point C, thereby saving cost, time, and efficiency. So this is the business objective efficiency. In any world, in financial services world, in insurance world, any world you can see, you can bring in efficiency of processes and objectives with the level of business analysis that can happen, mapping the business domain and the technology domain, right? So what is the effect of the combination of the efficiencies that happen on business side and the innovation side? So there's going to be a major change activity. That's what we feel. Once the innovation is accepted, to bring in enormous amount of change in the way the business is conducted and the efficiencies brought about in the business, there is going to be a major change of activity that will happen in the business itself. So do we, for example, do we look at movement of, say, a product from point A to point B if we have to sell it faster, or do we have to move it, store it at point B? So there could be multiple ways of movement of technology, movement of ideas between various points, and how this is going to bring in the major change in the activity itself that is conducted in the particular industry. For example, if you look at the financial services industry, to which I am very closely associated, where we had mostly manual processes handling the transactions, manual processes handling the payment processes, and so on and so forth. So when the technology came into picture, there was a complete and total change at the way that was being handled. Earlier, even for a normal customer, if he wants to encash a check, the check has to be deposited in the counter when the ledger clerk will look at the balance, verify it, and then pass it, and there will be an officer who will confirm the signature, availability of balance. Then the check will move to the teller, and the teller will disclose the cash. Now, with the system implementation, the core systems available in most banks, there is no need for the technical or the counter clerk that was there. It's all done by the teller himself. The process itself, one major portion of the process has been totally moved away. It has been moved out. So there is a major change in activity that has happened due to one simple innovation, that is the core banking solution we got implemented in a bank. So that's what we call the innovation efficiency that brings in the major change in the activity. So if you go to point number 1 and 2 that are there on top, so we clarified as to what we mean by that, and then we are going back to the impact of these 2 points. The efficiency of an organization on setting and achieving business objectives remains on technology innovation. Both of them go hand in hand. And the cost of the impact, innovation impact is reflected on large-scale change initiatives. Once there is a change in the way that it is handled, the way that it is moved, there could be a large impact on the cost. Normally, the expectation is the cost will be reduced. There is an improvement that happens in the entire process, thereby the organizations have a benefit of the innovation that happens due to the marriage of technology and the business. So this is
So another great example, you know, for having this technology and business analysis marrying themselves, and business analysis acting as an agent and optimizing the technology available, is the kind of banking, as Ram correctly mentioned, has changed over the past so many number of years. Wherein if you would have noted, you know, 10 to 15 years before 10-15 years, clearing of a check itself used to take 3 days. Now, with the technology, latest technology in place, wherein we have multiple settlement cycles running into a core infrastructure, you know, because of that, you're able to get your funds, you know, in any moment of time. And because of these multiple settlements happening, and you know, so many technological improvements like check truncation services, and you know, having the internet banking revamped the way it has over the last decade or so, the technology itself has changed and generated so many ideas which would basically be used by the business analyst and perform his business analysis to create this innovation.
Okay. So we are moving on to the next slide. Any questions so far? Let me check if I have any questions here. Okay. Yeah. All right. So let me try to expand this. So, I have a few questions. Just trying to expand it.
Yeah, already a couple of questions been shared with you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to become it's slow. It's slowly responding pretty slow. Okay. I'll request Anand to do it in the meantime. I'll keep talking at a certain time. Mahesh, it's not expanding. I can see the questions there. There are several questions there, but now I got it. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
If you want to take one at a time, scroll from here.
Yeah. So the first question is talking about cost for any innovation. What are the cost strategies for support, maintenance, option, paper request? Yeah, I think there is a question and there is also an answer into the question. Innovation, of course, has its own both the the investment cost and the return on investments, plus the revenue that gets generated over a period of time. So we look at it as some of the organization, or rather most of the organization, look at the investment in innovation as investment. So if they get a return on investment over a period of time, they are in a position to write it off, going by the accounting parlance. Do all the investments result in certain amount of return for the amount of work or the amount of money that is spent? No, it doesn't happen that way. So for that matter, do companies stop investing in innovating, stop investing in research and development? They cannot afford. This is the very, very critical point that all of us should understand. Just because there is not likely to be a return on the investment that's going to happen, we cannot stop investing. I remember an anecdote from one of my friends who used to work for GE. They had made investments in certain specific areas, especially on the turbine area, where they were working on certain new technology, and after about 3 years of running with spending enormous amount of money into that investment, ultimately they found that the way that they were looking at things were totally wrong, and there were certain other innovations that happened in the market which were totally disruptive, and these people were not in a position to, go ahead with their innovation, with their research activity. So the research director, they came back and they, apologetically went and told him, and this is what had happened. He said, fine. So where do you want to go next? Which area you want to invest next? So that is the way, most companies look at it as an investment, and if it is to be, if there are no returns onto it, well, so be it. Business analysis. Do you want a business analyst or a technically the entire analysis is not necessary. So there has to always required. So there is no technical person only trying to face the they were becoming the even I remember there was a conference, not a conference, there was a meeting that happened sometime late last year when the Project Management Institute of USA, they invited certain senior leaders from the Institute of Business Analysts from Canada. So the discussion was, how do we collaborate? Where do we think that we can add value to each other? So the thought process now is very clearly coming that the individual contribution can no longer be valid. In fact, I was coming to this point at a later point in this discussion. The team contribution is more critical. The team with multiple knowledge areas, multiple levels of expertise will be required to find a solution for any situation, any problem. Technology is it's not an exception for that. Okay, so as a BA, is it important to get knowledge of deep technical knowledge? I beg to differ with this. We have had, once again, long levels of discussion. Personally, I would feel a business analyst should have knowledge of technology. How is it going to disrupt? How is it the basic knowledge a person should possess should always be there. Not necessary that, for example, if you take a senior person, a team leader, a project manager, though he started his career as a developer, he would graduate into areas which would require more of management skills. Similarly, for the business analyst, his expectation, the contribution from him would be more onto the functional side, less onto the technical side. But yes, does he require technical knowledge? Yes, he requires technical knowledge, but not in depth. That's what my opinion is.
Okay, there is one more question which says, it's the next one. What if the BA is unaware to the technology best for the customer requirement?
Exactly. The BA, the business analyst, is not expected to know and certainly would not know the right type of technology that is required for the customer. So that is why we are always propagating the merging, the marrying between the technical people and the analysts. So both of them have to work together. It is not possible for a business analyst alone to design a solution or architect a solution. And similarly, it is becoming increasingly evident that a technical person alone cannot architect a solution or design a solution. Both of them have to work together. How much of collaboration at each stage of SDLC, how much of collaboration they require, it varies from a type of project to another type of project. There is another question. A business analyst responsible to understand the customer need and propose valuable solution. In other words, derive business use case which are further driven down to system or component level use cases. Innovation at this level have the challenge of both customers and stakeholders not being able to perceive the new proposition. How do we handle this? Just a minute, let's understand this question. Responsible to understand the customer need and propose valuable solution. In other words, derive business use case which are further driven down to system or component level use cases. Okay. Innovation at this level have the challenge of both customers and stakeholders not being able to perceive the new proposition. How do we handle this? I would assume that what you are talking about, the innovation in this question is coming late into the system. I would think the innovation will be all permeating, would start the discussion itself with the customer needs. You would understand what exactly is the customer need and would think of the innovation that would have to happen in consonance or in discussion with the technical person. So at the stage of writing use cases, I do not know. I wonder what kind of innovation you'll be in a position to bring at that stage, rather than discussing with the customer. Anand, you have any answer for this?
So yeah, I can give a live example on this. Innovation not necessarily has to be brought in a particular stage during a SDLC. It can come at any level. For a business analysis, it's basically when the project is kicked off and he's basically speaking to the customer or the end client, gathering the requirements, the customer would say that, I basically want the system to work in an X manner, and the X manner would mean that he would like to, ensure that none of the errors are being, coming while the output solution, when the solution is derived, from that project. He wants that when the outcome comes, all the errors should come at that moment, so that it doesn't go into the end user's perspective. So the solution what we gave is, instead of having those errors tackled at the end, when the solution is taken the last step, why don't we kill that error itself in the front end? So it's basically an innovative idea to proactively see what the errors are initially and design in such a way that it doesn't come when the solution is designed at the end. Now, giving an example over here is, it's like in the internet banking solution. If a person logs in, and when he logs in, the customer says, when the customer logs in, send a call to the host to ensure that there are no attached accounts or defunct accounts which are scripted into the internet banking solution from in the online banking. So to do that, you basically, I'm now moving into the operation level, wherein how do we do that? We basically send a call to the host, retrieve all the accounts, and then display, which basically again is an exhaustive process. So as an innovative idea, what we did was we basically had all those attached accounts or negative status accounts into the batch in the front end solution. So there was no call which was sent to the host, and we basically stopped those files going out and getting a call to the host, having cut down the process to get the solution business requirement met in a very short duration period.
Thanks, Anand. So the next question is, let's do a time check. We have about 15 minutes. I have about 5 questions left. Let's quickly go through the questions, and if you cannot answer the questions now, we'll send it across in writing to the Techgig, and then they will share it with the person that have asked the question. So I'll take the next question. How close are the objective of a business analyst and a consultant? The consultant, anybody does any analysis, according to us, is an analyst. You call them by any name: business analyst, technical analyst, system analyst. An analyst is the one who does the analysis part of it. So what we are propagating here is an analyst, as far as the business side is concerned, gets involved in multiple areas. He may be doing a very simple task of that of gathering requirements, or he may be doing a very complex task of consultancy or a business process re-engineering. He's an analyst. So the objective of a business analyst, or the objective of any analysis that is getting done, is improvement, right? Getting the right kind of solution to the end user. It can be at the lowest level or it can be at the highest level. The objective is the same, whether it is a business analyst or a consultant, whatever name that you call it, right? So the current thinking in the international circles, we have been discussing with the president of the IABA and several other leading thinkers in this area. The current thinking is that any analyst, for our discussions, let us call them business analysts, any analyst has to have the enterprise-wide knowledge to really add value to the organization for which he is working, right? So the enterprise-wide value or the knowledge for a person, for a business analyst, comes in only with a certain amount of knowledge onto the domain, knowledge onto the process, knowledge onto the technology, also his exposure to the similar engagements in the past. So all in all, a business analyst is expected to perform a strategic role than the operational role that so far he has been performing. This is the thinking process that is currently being discussed hotly, debated hotly in global circles. Just to repeat, quote unquote, an analyst is a change agent. Analyst is a change agent. This is the current thought process that is happening, which is being discussed world over. So there are about 4-5 questions already there. I'll take them later. In the meantime, let's continue with the presentation so that we don't lose on to the thought process and we don't miss any of the points that we wanted to make to the audience. Okay, right. So, have we covered this?
No, not yet.
Yeah, so quickly, we have about 15 minutes left.
15 till 4:15, right?
It's 4:15. Oh, okay, yes, sir. We have about half an hour left. Please go on. Anand will cover this slide.
Okay. This slide basically talks about how business analysis is critical for adoption of innovation. So as we've been speaking about innovation, so what we kind of come to a point as innovation to become successful commercial proposition needs the enterprise focus and analysis. So what we're trying to say is innovation cannot be driven by a single person. You basically need multiple brains to sit together, brainstorm on a particular idea. It can be rubbish, but you need to brainstorm and come to a conclusion. And this kind of an idea has to be driven, and this thought process has to be driven from the top. And the focus has to come from a strategic and enterprise level to the ground level, wherein the multiple brains sitting together, maybe the analyst team or the technology team, who are sitting together and brainstorm on any XYZ area, come to a conclusion. The next one is there should be the handshake to sustainable implementation of innovation needs a catalyst, a business analysis induced optimization. So what it means is, to basically the sustainable implementation of innovation, wherein what we are talking is innovation is an idea, and to implement that idea you need a catalyst, and who's playing the role of the catalyst out here is a business analysis as a whole. And this business analysis comes from technology, it comes from business, and marrying both the things, we basically optimize both of them, seeing in the customer needs and the end user needs, and there is a marriage between the two, and that's how the innovation involves. The next point states about business analysis helping mapping the innovation to end user need. With this is a point we already spoken about, wherein the business analysis act as a change agent, what Ram rightly mentioned, who basically optimizes the existing technology to bring out new innovative ideas and the way the business user wants it. The last but not the least, the current business complexities need specialized discipline and practice of business analysis, unlike in the past. Now, this term business analysis has been used many a times out here. Now, this business analysis has been in practice and it's been in use, since a long time. Any technology, be it healthcare, be it infrastructure, be it information technology, be it banking, any domain, you have the business analysis been in operation and running for the past so many years, but it was not being run in a structured format as it was supposed to. But now with the changing era, it has changed, and now we have a practice for business analysis, which basically covers the business analysis in a more structured and a more formatted way, so that it basically gives a tool for the business analysis as a profession, wherein it can drive technology, innovation, and optimize it both.
Thanks, Raman. So let's look at the innovation optimization. So this idea partially it is borrowed from one of the consultants that are there that have come out with this idea, and partially our own inputs there. If you look at the loop, we have not deliberately put any arrow mark to indicate which way there is a flow. It can flow either way. Let's look at it. There is in the center, in the orange ball, you see the continuous innovation loop. So the innovation itself is a continuous loop, which of course all of us would agree. So what do we mean by embracing ambiguity? So uncertainty and ambiguity are part of the innovation world. There was a question a while ago that was raised. What do we do with the cost that we have invested if the innovation fails, in the idea for which we have invested money fails? It was one of the questions that I have received. So that is the ambiguity. That is the uncertainty. We don't know whatever we are going to innovate using the analysis skills that we have, both from the business side and from the technical side. Will it be successful? No, we do not know. Will it fail? No, we do not know. That is the uncertainty that we have. But can we ignore it? No, we cannot ignore it. If we ignore it only at the peril of folding down the business. I mentioned about Kodak. Kodak was one of the foremost companies. In fact, that was the company that registered the technology for digital photography. That was the first company to register for digital photography. Now you see so many camera companies, so many companies like Canon or Nikon copying the technology that Kodak has registered, and still they are surviving when Kodak has folded. So you cannot ignore innovation. You have to keep on innovating. And they have close to 268 innovations. So the analysis part of it is absent. That is the second part that I am coming to. Now let's look at the lower ball. That's the cost-benefit trade-offs, right? So again, that's the same question that was asked by another person. What do we do if the cost is more and the return on investment is less, right? You don't know. That is the another uncertainty. But just for the sake of worrying about the cost in innovation or cost in investing in research and development, you cannot do away with that. Think of all these pharmaceutical companies. If they stop doing the research and development or investing onto the research and development area, thinking that this cost is ambiguous, this investment is going to be, it's not certain, the return on investment is not certain. Do we do that? No, we cannot afford to do that. So the benefits may come a long time in coming, but yes, we have to take certain amount of it there. And disrupt legacy models. This is one of the very pet theme for this particular slide. What do we mean by disruption of legacy models? Look, we have models that have been time tested. We have models that we have been believing all these years, for decades, for ages, for centuries. Do we think that the same model will continue forever? No. So if there is going to be a situation where the same model is successful over the next okay, just a minute. So the disruption of the legacy models, you can think of, I was reading an article a couple of weeks back that was published by Gartner, which was reading something like this. The legacy system modernization of the banks, it is going to be the next big bang. Do you believe that? All of us are of the opinion that core system that is prevailing in the banks are all there already there, and nobody will be interested in modernizing their legacy systems. but this agency, this comes out with an article stating, research study stating that the banks are it is very critical for the banks to modernize their legacy systems, disrupt whatever that they are currently doing. Otherwise, they are going to lose out business. So that is disruption. And then foster creativity. When we say foster creativity, what we are saying is we have to influence. You know, if you look at things, the current things that are there in the analysis world, it is influence without control. This is one of the pet sentences that we often hear from most of the business analyst world, the analysis world. Influence without control. Foster creativity. The creativity can come not from one person or two person. It's a group that has to come. We have certain amount of, most of the companies and most of the participants would have at one point or the other would have been a part of the ideation groups where they come out with brainstorming, discussions, and so on. So foster creativity, help people to come out with their own ideas, encourage them to come out and participate, whatever be the type of idea. Maybe it looks very rudimentary at the first point in time, but it may prove to be a great idea. So get closer to customers. So this is the critical area where how do we, innovation per se is not useful unless and otherwise it fills the gap or fills the need of a customer. So naturally, so you have to get closer to the customer. You have to keep constant touch with the customer. We are coming up with something like this. Would you be interested? Do you think that this is going to be a disruptive technology for you? Do you think that this is going to improve the efficiency, increase the efficiency for you? So this kind of questions have to be constantly asked. We have, in most companies, we have interest groups that get formed with specific ideas in mind. And most of these groups are, there are participants from the end users in most of these groups. They come up with their ideas. They come up with their suggestions. So if you look at the right-hand side top, analysis optimizing the technology innovation insists on innovation at every turn. We are not satisfied with innovation at day one and then we wait for 2 more years to come up with the next innovation to come on board. No, we do it continuously. Some of it is useful, some of it are not useful, but that is the way the industry has to be done. But again, we have to constantly keep on asking, is this truly innovation or just better business as usual? So you have to think of constantly asking this question. Is it really a disruptive technology? Is it a disruptive business process? Or is it business as usual, doing something better than what it was earlier, right? So this is kind of, just think of the movement from the desktop to laptop to the iPads of this world. Is it, I'm just throwing this question to the audience, is it business as usual? Do you think this technology is truly disruptive, or is it just better business as usual? So this is the second question to the audience. We are moving on to the next slide. Would you like to talk here? Okay, so now someone was asking the question, one of the questions that I saw is that what is the objective of a business analyst and what is the objective of a consultant, right? So the transformation is happening in the world. It's there all over us to see, and more of it you will see. The current operational approach of requirement analysis, etc., execution, communication, risk analysis, etc. Of course, it is not done alone by a business analyst. It is always done with the technical person or the project manager in any group. The business analysis itself is slowly maturing into a strategic area. It is not anymore just thinking of how to write a test case or a test strategy. It is also moving into the higher areas of thinking as to what kind of business process that is required if you need to address the customer need, a particular customer need. What kind of business area or what kind of technology that we need to understand with the help of the technical person there, technical architect there, if we need to understand, if we need to solve the particular problem that the business user is facing. More often than not, the business user himself may not be aware of this particular problem that is in existence. There are many such examples. The moment that you come out with a solution, the moment you come up with an innovative idea, then the customer recognizes, yes, I do agree. So that is where we are saying that optimization of the innovation will transition the analysis from the operational side to a strategic approach. The strategic approach, most people that are in the area of business analysis would know that the enterprise-wide understanding of what the solution that is getting offered, which area that is getting impacted, and what kind of technology, what kind of innovation that is to be used for attaining the particular expectation or the need of the customer. So this is what we are trying to see here.
So to add to this point, I have a live example in front of me wherein we basically have this operational approach which involved a requirement analysis, solution assessment, testing, technology assessment, etc., etc. And there was a certain amount of optimization, what we are calling over here the adoption of innovation, which was required to solve the business requirement or a business need. One of my clients, wherein I used to work earlier, they wanted to basically develop a solution wherein it was an account originating platform, to be precise, and they wanted that whenever a customer visits, a customer can be that bank's customer, or it can be any other person who is logging to that bank site. They wanted to understand, when they are logging into the account origination platform, how would they know that a person has successfully, whosoever has logged in into that site has successfully completed that account origination exercise? And if not, then how do we guarantee that the person who's leaving that web page midway, is interested in that account or not? So that is what they called as a customer behavior. So this technology came into place, and they said, yeah, there is a way out how we can basically help you out. And they basically, through the IP address of the person who was logged in, and if he again logs in, he would be brought to the same page, and he would basically know the place where he left earlier, and he would be able to log in into the application and start from the same place. And the bank would also know that customer had previously logged in and he's not completed that task. So it was a win-win situation for both ends. So this is like how the operational approach was used, and innovation was added to that to create that strategic, to achieve that strategic goal.
Okay, so the punchline here is the adoption of innovation needs. It needs a collaborative approach and imbibing strategic thinking and leadership competencies. Naturally, when you move towards strategy from the operational area, you need to have make do of the way that you have been operating. Any analysis that has to be done has to have the paradigm shift into the way it was being handled in the past. The competencies that are required are more to be looked in as a leader rather than as a person, as an operational level executive that was handling the multiple areas that we have listed here or more. So what do we mean by the leadership competencies? The leadership competencies are nothing great, but there are specific enhanced capabilities that would have to be imbibed by an individual who does the analysis, whether it's a technical analysis or a business analysis. The communication part of it is one of those critical things. If you look at it in the operational area also, we talk about the communication. So here the communication has to cover in a bigger area, a larger area, and a larger number of recipients, and the type of communication that goes to each type of recipient, the type of communication that the response that you likely to get from each type of recipient, it has to be slightly different from what you do at the operational level. So this is just one example. There are multiple areas where a leadership competency has to be improved if an analysis have to reach the level of strategy from the operational. We are moving on to the next slide. Okay, this is an interesting slide. If you look at the innovation life cycle, what was the last question?
Is technology a game changer for business analysis or vice versa? Or business analysis game changer?
Same question yesterday.
Business analysis depending on the domain.
Okay, so after completion of this slide, we'll have our third question also. Look at this slide. How do the how does an innovation happen? What is the life cycle of innovation? So we have initiation, we have ideation, we have prototyping, we are operationalizing whatever prototype that we have, and we optimize the solution, and then we either throw it into the dustbin once it reaches a level of maturity, or we improve on it and then run it further and repeat it over and over again, right? So each of these areas, there is an analysis that happens in the innovation life cycle. What we are more interested in is look at the initiation stage where we have a need versus availability analysis. Do we really need this? Do we have something already available in the market? Do we need to improve on that? Will that become a business as usual, improvement of a business as usual? Do we run into the danger of doing something just for the sake of doing it? So this is the need versus availability analysis even before we initiate an innovation. The second is ideation. So we have shortlisted 5, 6, 7, 8, 12 areas where we'd like to ideate. So there we also need to have an optional analysis of the option. So within the ideation, do we have a solution that will have an impact immediately or later? Or do we have to invest more onto the technology? So there will be multiple options that will be available when you do an ideation, multiple challenges that will be available. So each of it you have to look at the pros and cons and then decide, analyze, and then give your recommendations. Then naturally there is the prototype, and then there is a toll gate, go or no-go decision. We have come up with the prototype, but is it still meeting up with the business user need? Is it filling up the gap of a business user need? Is it going to disrupt the legacy technology which is going to add value? Or is the overall the investment that has been made that we find the world has changed? There were multiple examples that we can think of. Most of the organizations that were in existence 10, 15 years back, they had invested in what we call electrical typewriters. From the manual typewriters, they graduated into electrical typewriters, right? There was this one company that was one of the manufacturers in India, I'm talking in India, one of the companies that was manufacturing electric typewriters, and the company was manufacturing electric typewriters, and the discussion was on whether to invest further in improving the electric typewriters to meet up with certain additional demands that they perceive that the market would need. But of course, the right sense prevailed because the advent of the desktop and the computer technology totally obliterated the electric typewriter technology. So we had prototypes, we had better products that were there, but when we went into the operationalization area, so we thought that there was no value that is getting added by this new innovation, right? So we in the gate itself, we decided from the prototype, we in the sense the company decided the prototype, from the prototype's thing, there was no point in going further. So the decision itself was stopped. Naturally, when you get into the operationalization area, you always get back to the customer. If you remember in one of the slides, get closer to the customer. That was a very, very critical point in the life cycle of innovation. We keep talking to the customer and understand whether is it creating any value, or are they meeting up with the value that was expected. The continuous engagement with the customer would like us to would help the analysis, the technical and the business analysis, to continuously evaluate whether this product needs further improvement, whether we need to work on this, or whether we need to withdraw this particular product itself or the operation itself from the market. Naturally, then the next is optimization. Optimization is all about what we talked earlier. Make a product or a service or a practice perform better than what it was doing earlier. Again, think of the question. It shall not be business as usual. The optimization of analysis happens when you are in a position to improve the performance of a particular product or a service in a way that adds value to the customer, right? So again, you are going to look at it from the viewpoint of repeatability and validity. Can it be repeated? Can it be improved over a period of time? Many of you that are working in the software industry would remember that if you have to implement a very, very large solution for any customer, you do it in phases, right? So you do it in phase one, you give certain amount of functionality. and phase 2 certain amount of functionality added to that, and so on and so forth, right? So is this adding the additional functionality that is given, even though we have discussed with the business user, we have arrived at the solution based on our understanding, technical and the business solution, is it going to add value to the one that is already in existence? Everywhere, every time that you come out with a new solution or a new innovation, you are going to think whether it is repeatable and whether it is valid that is getting into the system at this point in time, right? So this is what it is. And once you have this figured out, the innovation life cycle, where the analysis plays a major role in every point of this innovation life cycle, once you figured it out, I think that is where the analysis will be very successful. Just to give you one example, the analysis itself, if you remember in the beginning of the discussion I had mentioned, the analysis itself was given multiple names and multiple points of time. So internally when we were discussing, we got out a very grand example, Sony Walkman. You know, if you remember, most of you would remember that the before the advent of Walkman, most people did not have something that they could carry in their hand through which they could listen to music. So most of them had this huge 2-in-1, that is the radio cum cassette recorder, that they had to carry in the trains and wherever that they wanted to go, but it was very cumbersome. So looking at that, Sony, the chairman of the organization himself, he played a role of analysis at that point in time. He analyzed the situation, and then he thought, why not bring out something that is easy to carry, easy to move, is mobile as a person, as a person's normal things that he takes, like a pen, a pencil, or whatever. So this was one of the greatest of analysis that was done. So this was not known as a business analysis at this point in time. You can put many examples. As Anand was mentioning in the initial part of the discussions, all these analyses are now getting structured, and the processes are getting defined, the templates are getting defined, and the interaction model between the technology and other groups are also getting defined. Okay, so this is we come to the last of the slides. Let us look if you have any questions here, which we can answer in the next few minutes. We have about 2 minutes. 2 minutes left. Okay, let me conclude. Then we'll have a question. You have another question for them, right?
Yeah.
We'll have a question, and then we'll try and answer if we can, time permitting. Right. So some of the views that we mentioned, the business analysis was always omnipresent. It was known by different names at different points in time. Sony was one of the greatest of the examples. And closer home, one of my colleagues was mentioning Tata. The nano car that was brought out was a typical analysis that was done on the market view. So the success or failure of the product is different, but this was an analysis done by the topmost person in the industry. And more, the analysis part of it will play the role of a change agent and strategic driver for innovative initiatives. That doesn't mean that the analysis, the operational level will be left over, the operational level will be jettisoned or moved away from that. No, that will also continuously happen. But the strategic level initiatives, the strategy that has been thought through as only from the top level person, is going to be driven more by the business and technology change agents that are going to be in the organization. It may be one, it may be two, it may be multiple people, but that is likely to happen in the next, this year itself. You will see it slowly change in the direction. And the technology innovation or any innovation will be collaborative efforts. Gone are the days when there was a Thomas Alva Edison who was in a position to invent multiple things and then register the IPR in his name. That is not going to be the case anymore. There is going to be lots and lots of inputs required from many people that have expertise in many areas, right? So the business analysis, look at point number 4, the business analysis is required at every stage, which we explained in the previous slide, the innovation life cycle. Every site, at every stage of the innovation life cycle, analysis is required. Go, no-go decisions, validity decisions, value decisions, all of them will be based upon an analysis where the business person, the technical person, and whoever that is there that is working on the ideation will have to provide their inputs. And the last but not the least, the optimization of innovation is facilitated by business analysis and driven by business need. So this is very, very critical. If you look at it, going back to one of the questions, unless there is a business need, the innovation is not going to be very successful. We come out with the solutions, but it doesn't fulfill a gap of in the market. So naturally, that has its own challenges in implementation. So we have reached the time 4:15. Let me give you the last question, and we'll see.
Yes.
Can you read this, please?
Yeah, the question is technology a game changer for business analysis, or is business analysis changing the game for technology, or does it work hand in hand?
So that was our last question, and thank you very much for the participants. The coordinator from Techgig. Do we have time, or is it's already 4:15? I can answer some of the questions raised.
Hello.
Yeah.
There are few more questions still left, so we can have we can extend the session by 2-3 minutes.
All right. So let's look at the next question. This was the one, right?
Yeah.
So there is a question which says a product or a project should have BAs as part of innovation strategy and not just providing solution. Do you comment with reference to current trend in the software industry? Yeah. See, even day before yesterday, we had a meeting in the local chapter. We were discussing with some people from the PMI group and some people from the rest of the industry. They were all there. So we were discussing the very same point. So where are we going? What is the trend in the software industry? Is the business analyst going to be a dinosaur that disappear, or is it going to play more value add, more role? So the indications were that the analysis will have to be there, will continue for a long time, and the responsibilities that they will assume will be higher, more, and the skills that they need to add more is on collaboration and communication and working with multiple types of teams. Yes, in the process, they also will have to learn bit of technology, if not more. So a person with zero level of knowledge in technology perhaps will find it extremely difficult if he gets into the level of strategic thinking or consultancy. Next question is, how do we differentiate innovation that happens on the business side and on the technology side? While internal technical process always leads to efficient products and benefits an existing customer, what about business innovation which directly impacts the customer's business? See, this is a very good question. There are differentiations. The technical innovation, for example, let us think of in the end-of-day processing, when you have multi-threading. Most of the people that have handled this would understand what I'm trying to say. When you have multi-threading, it certainly gives a certain amount of benefit to the technical process. That is, you save time on processing the data that is available, that is required for your end-of-day processing. And look at it from the business viewpoint. What does it do? It improves, it reduces the time taken for processing the data for end-of-day processing, and it also throws it open. When the end-of-day processing happens normally, some of the database gets locked and the customer interaction gets impacted. So you directly have an impact on the business process there. So any technical improvement, or if you come to think of it, any technical improvement will have certain amount of business benefit. And similarly, any business benefit that you want to think of will have some technical angle to it. So both of them will go hand in hand. The innovation part of it can come from business. I mentioned about the innovation that happened in the banking side a while ago when I answered another question. So if you look at it, the business process improvement brought in technology innovation and technical improvements. And similarly, the technical improvement brought in business process improvements, going by the example that I just gave you. Okay, so the next question is, could you please elaborate on the recent trends keeping in mind the rising need of effective collaboration amongst business analyst professionals? Example, emerging process, guidelines, products, etc. Okay. So this is another area which is being very actively debated by the very practitioners in many countries, more so in US and Canada. Some of the details that I keep receiving from these people, the leaders that are there in this area, indicate that the need for collaboration between the technical minds and the analytical minds have to be there. And can a technical person wear the hat of an analytical person and do it on his own, or an analytical person wear a technical hat and do it on his own without any collaboration? It is not going to happen. If you see, more people are coming back to the idea that the technical person, the analysts and the technical people have to work together to finding out solutions. It is becoming increasingly specialized on both sides. It's not going to be easy for one person to be master of everything that he surveys. It's not going to happen. And the divergence is already happening. This was one of the points that were discussed between the PMI leaders and the IABA leaders a couple of months ago when they met for a small conference at US. Okay, next question is, could you please explain the pitfalls or challenges that a BA will be facing? Okay, all right. One of the greatest things is that a BA, normally feels is career progression, right? What is the pitfall for a business analyst? Okay, I'm a business analyst now. I'm a senior business analyst. I'm a consultant, and what next, right? So this is the question that plagues the minds of most business analysts, right? So the second point that always happens, that always worries a functional person and an analyst is that, where do I go if I don't have a knowledge of a particular domain or an industry? If I don't know healthcare industry, can I be successful in healthcare industry? Can I use only my analytical skills, analysis skills, and get into some other industry? Will that be okay? Does it go hand in hand? Without, how many domains that I can learn? I work in healthcare today, and tomorrow I have to go to aviation. So do I need to understand both healthcare and aviation? So how long is it going to take? I'm a specialist in healthcare. So that is the second question. That is the pitfall that challenges. Do I have an answer? I have partial answers for all this, which I will repeat now, which I will mention now. And the third thing is, most of the business analysts end up as only consultants, and they do not get an opportunity to run a company or being a president of a company, because most of it is taken over by the people that have more technically oriented and less functionally oriented. So this is a challenge that most business analysts, you know,
yeah, the problem what I see over here is, according to IIBA says that a business analyst is domain independent. He need not be specialist in any particular domain, and he just needs to have a business analysis skills to gather requirements and understand the clients, and then take the analysis stuff forward. But the industry demands that any business analyst who comes on board should have both business analysis skills, as well as he should also have the technology and the domain knowledge to work hand in hand, so that the organization's load is reduced in terms of making the person get trained on domain and technology code. So that is the major challenge which I feel a business analyst would feel.
I have been told by those leaders that as a challenge that the most business analysts feel that they are facing. What is a career growth path? I've been told by those leaders that there are organizations. They name a few of the organizations which I'm not mentioning now. Few organizations where the functional person is leading the highly technical company. It's a highly technically oriented company, but it is being led by a functional person who is a functional person with that company. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't have any knowledge or orientation towards technology. Both of them have to go hand in hand. In our opinion, both Anand and I have been discussing that, and of course another colleagues that we have in our group, Harish and others, is that a technical person, a pure technical person, currently, if he has only technical knowledge and if he doesn't have a functional orientation, will find it extremely difficult to move further, and vice versa for a business person. If he's pure functional person, if he doesn't have even a inkling of what technology is all about, he will have challenges going forward. So this is the industry trend now. People are looking for business system analyst, not a pure business analyst or not a pure technical analyst. There has to be some kind of a combination. Of course, the percentage of knowledge varies for the role that you play, right? And the collaboration culture will bring in, you can bring in successfully collaborate only if you know, the little bit of the knowledge area where you are entering into. You cannot be a silent spectator when a discussion about a functional side is, being done by the group, or when the technical side is being done. So that's it. The next question is, how can we bring a culture of innovation in an organization? That's a very, it's $1 million question, right? So we know of organization, the names that come to my mind is companies like Google, companies like Apple. The Google, we all know that they encourage innovation, and then they are expected, each person is expected to work, say about 20-25% of its time on bringing in new functionality, new technology, new solutions for the Google group. So they have to partially, one of their the KRAs that is dependent on what kind of information that they bring in, what kind of innovative ideas that they bring in. So this is one of the ideas that is successfully being adopted by a company like, as large and as successful like Google. Google is, and there are smaller companies. I know of a company which was making the fishing boats. I'm not talking technology, the IT per se. I'm talking about something else, which was making the fishing boats, fishing trawlers, the small fishing trawlers that were being used by the fishermen. So there were certain challenges that were being faced by the fishermen when the shoals of fish were flowing across the body of the boat. They had challenges in locating what kind of fish and how they were going to catch them. There were some challenges that they faced, their business challenges. So this company came out with an idea of a boat which has a transparent fiberglass bottom through which the fishermen will be in a position to look through. There was a small portion of it they will be able to look through, and then they'll be able to say the fish shoal is coming on the right hand side, left hand side, moving to the farther, etc., etc. So the innovation of an organization, number one, is more from the top management. The innovation has to be encouraged and be implemented from the top management guideline. If the top management is very serious about innovation, so the senior management and the mid-level and the people that are involved in it. So this has to become a way of life. The innovation has to become a way of life. It takes a while, but it can be achieved. The company that I talked about onto the board that made it was just about 20 or 30 people that were there. But they came out with several innovative ideas. One of such I mentioned because I happened to see that when that was launched. So there were several such ideas because this innovation is ingrained in the minds of each and every employee that is there. Is it going to be easy? No, it is not going to be easy. And there has to be a certain amount of leadership that is required, certain amount of motivation that is required, financial, non-financial, etc. These are all part of the innovation ideas. Okay, I'm going to get into the last question. I missed two of the questions in between, but I'm getting into the last question. The last question. I think, Mahesh, I can take this question, right? I have exceeded my 20 minutes now.
Yeah, sure. So this is the last question we can take.
Okay. Yeah, this is the last question. Can the process of business analytics be applied to small companies? Right. Now, the question is, Prashant Kumar has asked this question. He's talking about business analytics. We have so far been talking about business analysis. So the business analytics is a different ballgame altogether. And I presume the question was meant to be business analysis and not business analytics. Right. So the business analysis, can it be applied for startups? Yes, why not? The problem that the startups face, in fact, one of my friends that we were talking yesterday, he was mentioning, when I told him that this business analysis part of it, he was mentioning that he has challenges in analyzing the requirements. he depends entirely on the on-site person that gives the requirements, and he has no clue as to whatever he is stating is going to actually meet the business need. And all the time, because of that, all the time the on-site person feels these people do not have the business knowledge. So with the result, the type of work that they get is very rudimentary. They do not get into the higher levels. So it is a chicken and egg case. If he wants to hire a business analyst with a particular knowledge of domain in that particular area where he is operating, it's going to be an expensive thing, and his return on investment is going to be low, like the person that commented on it a while ago. If he doesn't do that, he is not going to grow. So once again, it's a chicken and egg case. And the companies that have deep pockets, they do not hesitate in investing in hiring people that have the requisite knowledge and expertise, whether it is a business analysis or a technical analysis or whatever. So I asked him, okay, now you have a challenge like this, what's your solution for that? So he has engaged a part-timer to support him, who would comment on the areas. We will help him, help the technical people to understand the requirements, question wherever he feels that the requirement that was given was inappropriate, etc., and get back to the people at on-site. So this is a solution that he has found, a part-timer. Again, he meets with a challenge there. The part-timer looks at the requirement documentation, which is the property of the company with whom he is dealing at on-site. So there is this non-disclosure agreement, etc., that he does. But again, with the challenge that he has to have, it took a long time for him to get the approval from the on-site because he wanted to be transparent. Right. So this is the solution that he has found, but there may be many more solutions that some other person can adopt for such a situation. But in my opinion, the analysis is required, whether it is a startup or a large or a mid-sized or whatever company, the analysis is required. The analysis is going to be very, very critical in days to come. The amount of, the type of, there's competition that is hitting at our heels. The maintenance and support facility that we were very, very capable of. All our IT companies are exceedingly good in this area. Unless otherwise we move up the value chain where we look strategically at the requirements, strategically do the analysis, we are going to be left behind. This production, management, maintenance, etc., it will fly to other cost-effective countries, which we are facing the danger even today. The BPO operations are no longer only the forte of Indian companies. There are many companies in many countries, Philippines, Ireland, and even some extent I heard Indonesia, where the English-speaking people are more. It's all flowing there. So the challenge is that we cannot ignore the strategic point of growth for any company, and that is where the optimization and innovation of technology comes as one of the critical inputs. And these critical inputs will be given through business analysis. And business analysis itself is not a single man's operation. It's a joint effort. It's a collaborative effort. So with that, I conclude. If there are any other questions, you can perhaps send it across to Mahesh, the Techgig executives. They will forward it to me, and I'll try to answer them over mail. And if there are any other questions, any discussions that you would like to have, you can always reach to me through Techgig, or my mail ID is given there already. You can always reach me, and I'll be more than glad to answer any of your questions. And this process it's a journey. Whatever I'm talking about is a journey. It is almost midway, and we are perhaps likely to reach the next few years. We are perhaps to reach the level. Will that be an endpoint, or will there be another innovative idea that will come and reposition it in a different way? I have no clue at this point in time, and in all probability it will happen. With that, I conclude. Anand, do you have anything else to say?
No, I think I'm done now. And thanks everyone for listening to us patiently. And whatever questions are there, maybe you can send it to Ram, and we can together help answer those questions and take it forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Mahesh, for coordinating. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Though we still have a couple of questions unanswered, but we can take them offline. We are running out of time. So
Sure.
thanks once again.
So what was the 98% is about 490 and all, right? 490 participants.
Thanks, Mr. Ramasubramanian, for your informative session on how does business analysis optimize technology innovation. It was indeed an enlightening session. I would also like to thank our participants for their support in making this webinar a huge success. The recording of this webinar will be available on techgig.com by tomorrow. Gentlemen, the next session in Techgig webinar series is happening today at 5 p.m. Today's session is second in the ERP system series, and topic for the webinar is Business Process Mapping to an ERP System and Bridging Gaps. We will be having Mr. Gurveer Singh Bhatia, General Manager IT at Redington India Private Limited as our guest speaker. So see you all at 5 p.m. Thank you.